Diga Ultraman, who was supposed to be revered as a hero of humanity, now stands as a shattered stone statue. But it's not the monsters we should blame. Rather, it is the humans that Diga tirelessly protected, caused by their own actions. Every time Diga battled a monster, numerous buildings were destroyed, resulting in countless complaints. Eventually, a protest was even organized, demanding Diga to leave Lanshin. Ultraman, deprived of the power of human faith, sadly carried the burden of the monster's accusations, and flew off to the moon. As the summoner of Diga Ultraman, I watched as Diga slowly turned to stone, feeling a sense of unwillingness. It's clear that I always gave my best to protect everyone. But it all ended up like this. A self-deprecating smile crossed my face. Ultraman does not interfere with human choices. Yet, if humanity doesn't trust me, I can't transform into light and fight either. But with Diga now completely visualized, a mechanical voice suddenly echoed in my heart. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the blackening system. Each time you blacken, your strength increases. The system arrived at a perfect moment. A strange grin formed at the corner of my mouth, while the divine light rod, symbolizing light, turned black, and vast streams of black lightning burst forth, enveloping Diga's entire body. A brand new giant emerged, pitch black in appearance, with cold, fierce eyes. The Lord of Darkness from 30 million years ago has finally returned. Sensing the surge of dark power, I felt a moment of satisfaction. Then, I gazed at the azure planet ahead, suddenly stomping my foot on the ground, shattering it instantly. The pitch-black figure transformed into a streak of darkness, heading straight towards the blue star. Meanwhile, in the heart of a mountain on the blue star, the solid ground cracked open abruptly, revealing the ancient monster Gorzon. His sudden appearance startled everyone on the blue star. Wasn't he defeated by Diga? How is he back again? But let's leave that aside for now. Can't you see that the colossal creature is charging towards the city? Take cover while they're all shouting for Jean. Diga rolled out from the crowd of concerned citizens, leading them to a safe and open area. It's over now. We demeaned Diga before, and now no one is dealing with Gorzon. At the same time, a few loyal little fans of Diga witnessed the mighty Gorzon's arrival, their eyes filled with despair, expecting this outcome, but not anticipating it to happen so swiftly. Yet, the ignorant adults refused to listen. I grab a few children and urge them to run, repeating what I've said before. You foolish children. Why are you fixated on Diga Ultraman? He represents the fusion of light and humanity. Apologies on behalf of us humans for such abnormalities. We must stay vigilant. Shortly after Gorzon's appearance, his enormous eyes fixated on the city, Xuanji marched towards the urban landscape. Then, in the distance, two military fighters suddenly appeared. In the wake of Gorzon's emergence, the fighter pilots received orders from their superiors, demanding the elimination of Gorzon, not only for the safety of the citizens and to minimize economic losses, but also to showcase to the world that humans can defend their homeland with their own power, instead of solely relying on Diga. This time, they're piloting the newest fighter developed by Gugong, equipped with cutting-edge weapons, including the most potent missiles available. It's imperative to eradicate Gorzon this time, to demonstrate our human strength. Understanding the gravity of the situation, the two pilots swiftly accepted the mission, accelerating their flight. At that moment, another message came from above. If Diga Ultraman appears this time, even when Gorgon joined in the attack against Gorzon, there was a power we couldn't comprehend, making it hard to predict the outcome. With this understanding, the two pilots refocused their guidance. The fighters soared through the sky, creating a spectacle of speed. As they approached Gorzon, they suddenly split apart, taking a high-altitude position. Then, when they reached a certain distance, they swiftly descended towards the ground. Meanwhile, both pilots exchanged nods, letting this creature witness the power of humanity. The new missiles were launched, each shot calculated meticulously. Missiles emerged abruptly from the wings of the fighters, unleashing a synchronized assault on Gorzon's head. Under the barrage of fire, Gorzon bellowed furiously, clawing at his head with both front paws. Clearly affected by the previous attacks. After such a prolonged battle, human science and technology had progressed significantly. However, whenever they obtained power beyond their grasp, it tended to lead to unintended disasters. Observing the efficacy of their attack, the two pilots suddenly realized the newly developed fighters and military missiles were indeed formidable. They needed to swiftly eliminate this creature, preventing it from entering the city. They continued to press the attack button, launching powerful missiles in unison. Each shot landed accurately on Gorzon's massive body, driving him into a wild frenzy. Under the relentless assault of the two fighters, Gorzon struggled to move within the mountains. Observing the citizens who had managed to escape, they beamed with pride, pointing out to the children beside them. See? This is the strength of us humans. Even without Tiga, we can protect our home. The children listened quietly, their gaze fixed upon Gorzon, and the sky gradually darkening. However, despite the strength of the missiles, they seemed ineffective against Gorzon, only able to suppress him temporarily, preventing him from reaching the city. As Gorzon grew accustomed to the fighter attacks, he suddenly raised his head, opening his blood-filled jaws wide, and emitted a violet laser beam, striking one of the fighters instantly, sending it into a sharp descent. The pilot quickly deployed the parachute, while the disabled fighter crashed against a cliff, like a broken kite. With one less fighter in the sky, the remaining pilot found it increasingly challenging to confront Gorzon. Before long, he was swatted down by the creature's colossal paw, reducing the pilot and the aircraft to ruins. This was the moment for me to transform into Dark Tiga. Having arrived on the outskirts of the Blue Star, gazing upon Gorzon's rampage, I smiled dismissively, belittling this worthless race, questioning what there was to protect. Not far from the mountain where Gorzon appeared, there was a military base, once the headquarters of the Victory Team, but now solely serving as a military facility. Inside the base's command center, an elderly man in military uniform stood. He was the commander-in-chief. He was the one responsible for Tiga's expulsion. Commander. He glanced at the two fighters downed by Gorzon, furrowing his brow in frustration. How did this happen? The two newest fighters. None of them could even scratch Gorzon. Could it be that this creature has evolved once again? We've encountered it on the Blue Star before, studied numerous monsters, and we were aware that Gorzon possessed latent evolutionary potential. The Major General sitting next to the computer reported. Based on our recent investigation, the data shows that Gorzon hasn't evolved. It remains the same as before. What? The commander-in-chief looked at the extensive data, feeling disheartened. After confirming the findings, he nodded subtly, continuing to observe Gorzon as it approached the city. The commander-in-chief picked up his walkie-talkie and commanded, "Send in more advanced fighters immediately. Ensure that Gorzon is eradicated." With the call ended, he maintained his gaze on Gorzon, who continued to roar. Yet, his eyes unintentionally shifted towards the sky. His eyes widened slightly in response to what unfolded before him. In the face of Gorzon's reappearance, he wondered if it was possible. But before his words could fully escape his lips, his sophisticated eyes suddenly widened. He witnessed the pitch blackness in the sky rapidly expanding. In an instant, it engulfed the entire sky. Then, a figure descended from the heavens, emerging before everyone's eyes. It was Tiga, but not in the composite form known to people. Instead, it displayed its original dark color. My sudden appearance startled everyone on Lanshin once again. They believed I wouldn't return. And the season of seeing Tiga had become familiar, with some strange children suddenly cheering loudly. I knew Tiga would come. However, they soon noticed that Tiga appeared slightly different. One of the children was the first to question it. What's happening? Why did Tiga turn black for a while? Even the young ones grew suspicious about Tiga's identity and position. After all, in its dark form, although its appearance was grander, it emanated indifference and violence, causing people to avert their gaze in fear. The adults seized the opportunity, pointing fingers at Tiga, especially when they witnessed its dark image. They further denigrated it. "Kids, do you see it? This is what Diga Ultraman looks like. Everyone took the chance to fuel the smear campaign against Diga. Meanwhile, at the military base, the commander-in-chief observed Diga's new form. A mix of emotions playing across his face. He hadn't expected Diga to transform into a dark form. But soon, a disdainful smile crept onto his lips. "I'm certain you'll keep coming back this time." He reached for the walkie-talkie in his hand as it began to ring. "This is the commander-in-chief. Where are you heading to now?" "We'll be there soon." The pilots responded promptly. "We received your orders. Heading towards the mountains where Diga and Gorzon are located." "What should we do now, Commander-in-Chief?" "Digahara. It was a super ancient monster 30 million years ago. Now its true form is revealed. I command you. Immediately attack Diga and Gorzon once you arrive. Prevent any surprise attacks from the opposing side." The order was received by several pilots, who hastily made their way towards the mountains where Diga was. In the mountains, I observed Gorzon, not far ahead, frozen in place. A smile playing on my face. "Gorzon, we meet again. I just didn't expect it to be under these circumstances." But Gorzon took a couple of hurried steps back. Its enormous pupils filled with fear. Not to mention that this was its first encounter with Diga. Being a super ancient monster, it had witnessed the power of Diga in its former state. Now, faced with it in person, it felt the terror coursing through its being. However, I made no move to attack. Instead, I faced its back, casually seated on a mountaintop. Then, I gestured towards the city nearby, casting a knowing glance at Gorzon. My intention was clear. I wanted it to attack the city. Gorzon, of course, didn't believe I would be so benevolent, allowing it to unleash havoc upon the city. The cold aura emanating from me further unsettled it, causing hesitation in its steps. As it cautiously approached, opening its mouth wide, as Gorzon approached a populated area in the city, a purple laser beam shot forth, causing sparks to scatter on the ground, prompting curses from the pilots in the sky. They accelerated and flew towards Gorzon, firing laser beams that struck its back. But the effects were minimal. On the contrary, Gorzon, realizing I paid no attention to it, grew gleeful, finding amusement in the chaos it was causing. Raising its head, it crashed headlong into a skyscraper in the heart of the city, instantly reducing the building to rubble, creating a gaping hole with its colossal body. As Gorzon approached, people scrambled backward in fear. What a terrifying monster. Where are our rescue fighters? They blamed Dark Diga for inciting this destruction, despising the abominable Dark Diga. Meanwhile, I remained seated on the mountain, observing Gorzon's astonishing display, my cold face devoid of expression. The mechanical sound of the system echoed in my heart. The host instructs Gorzon to destroy the human city, doubling your own strength, infusing an incomparably powerful dark energy into you. I nodded in satisfaction, my gaze fixated outward, spotting two fighters flying directly towards me. The abominable Dark Diga daring to provoke Team Gore. Our cities went on the offensive. Die. The two furious pilots piloted their fighters, flying swiftly upwards, followed by a rapid descent, simultaneously launching missiles one after another, launching them towards me. I chuckled disdainfully. The pitch-black figure remained motionless, maintaining the same posture as sitting on the mountaintop. Just as the missiles were about to hit, a dark barrier suddenly materialized around me, with a dozen missiles fired, causing no damage whatsoever. The two pilots looked shocked, unwilling to cease launching missiles at me, even though they had just fired over 10 missiles. This creature remained unfazed. How is this possible? Not even Gorgon could do that. Meanwhile, on the other side, 7 or 8 fighters rushed forward, firing missiles and lasers, striking Gorzon's massive body, causing sparks to fly. But Gorzon angrily roared, raising its colossal head, and unleashing a sudden burst of purple laser. A fighter that failed to dodge in time was struck by the laser, exploding into pieces on the spot, leaving the pilot helpless. Now, with no Ultra Warriors to stop it, no one was able to contain Gorzon's rampage. And all I wanted was to witness What exactly humans would do without the aid of the Ultraman. Inside the military base, the distressing news continued to pour in. The commander-in-chief's walkie-talkie filled with reports of setbacks. Reporting to the general command. Gorzon's temporary strength is abnormally strong. Already 8 fighters have crashed to the ground. Damn it, Tiga has started moving. The pilots are overwhelmed. Requesting immediate support. Hearing the name, Tiga, the commander-in-chief's attention was immediately piqued. He dismissed other inquiries and addressed Tiga. What's happening with him? Tell me, you bastard. He's destroying our fighters. Upon hearing this, the commander-in-chief was stunned. Xuanji reacted. But there was no shock or anger. Instead, he spoke calmly, as if he had anticipated this. Cease the attack on Tiga. Focus all efforts on stopping Gorzon. Yes, to conclude the conversation. The commander-in-chief issued orders to his subordinates. Adjusting the screen to view Tiga's perspective. Gazing at the pitch-black giant before them. He smiled once again, a peculiar smile he had worn before. Now that you've reverted to your original dark form, your strength has truly increased significantly. It's the perfect time for you to test my new weapon.